Just laying there watching news, trying to think about how to say it. Before the World Trade Center attack, all the nations involved with that were already involved with collusion with other things here and there as victims, but as victim predators here and there. Hundreds of nations at once shared. On off Trinity College, on off CCSU. Trinity College has a Joshua Stryker, and they have deans and have a officer with using the name Darth Vader over the phone, involved with predicate acts with people from Afghanistan and with people from Saudi Arabia, the attackers, for example, and with the translators after the attack and before and during it. They were involved also with their family members, with a whole bunch of countries, and with our own, with the private tied to the interbranch, with a whole bunch of drugs, medication, crimes, overt criminal enterprises, drugs, and doctors, medicines, drugs. One's involved on Zion Street with the Los Solitos, simultaneously being and having been involved with overt criminal enterprises of other natures, and with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, and the spots next to it, and with the body dumping spots of a serial killer and the spots next to it. Even if that was made up, they were involved with predicate acts anyway. The United States military has roles with houses next to campuses involved with identity thefts and frauds, with the military police that have been forging and switching names, interstates and intercities over here, with the courts and prisons, people that run the prisons, on off the state judicial branch offices, and on off the state prison offices, were a whole bunch of people involved with predicate acts on off child campuses, and on off colleges and universities, and on off medical and fire campuses. Identity thefts and frauds rolls. Fake things are being stuck into databases. This is where and how time would be used simultaneously, too fast, too slow, by courts originally. Still, they will keep, and by police forms. Oh, we'll just let the courts decide. And by the prisons, in collusion with their patients and killers and child abusers and bad people since before they were caught. Also, because the people that run the prisons, people associated with them, like an O'Brien family, is involved with Hartford Police and Wethersfield Police through time. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants, whole bunch of other countries, overt criminal enterprises, plural, and people with these games speaking lies about students to their teachers behind their backs, with their interbranch family members, and the ones with the doctors that are personally tied to them. Foreign and domestic doctors are involved with drugs and medicines, crimes with kids, physical delusions, with prosecutors and their family members, judges and their family members. And they have roles with how they have a whole bunch of countries and culturally charged fake people involved with identity thefts and frauds. Then they pretend they're like that because they're prejudiced against you, because they're in the background, part of the falsified police reports roles. They couldn't put themselves on paper because they were putting me and others to fake locations. And when the people tied to them, they're trying to make exceptions with it. So it's a whole bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with a Pandolf family, with predicate acts on off Trinity College and CCSU, and that are coordinated before the World Trade Center attack and since, and with people on Zion Street, and with this Joshua Stryker, with deans that are forging and switching names. There's also military police families involved with religious locations criminally, and with the family members. Like there's an Eric Burgess with the military, who's one of the military people who confessed, demonstrated, recorded, confirmed. They tell a whole bunch of little fake things to girls and to their friends behind other people's backs, as identity thefts and frauds roles, as roles with judges and prosecutors and police forms leading up to legal cases and issues where they're in the backgrounds as little rap mobs. So Eric Burgess has a mother and father, I don't know, and people involved with other countries and with Hartford courts involved with his family, also on religious spots near his street. People on and off West Farms Mall. I don't know the Dube family with the West Farms Mall tied to a Joe DeMoro. And people from Wethersfield, Connecticut involved intercities with spots like next to where the serial killer's reported body dumping spots were. Even if that was made up, that person's personally criminally involved with that location, with the courts and the prisons that put him away. Their family members also criminally involved with that location. So what are they doing? Hiding and plotting with the news, attaching me and other people to fake words. Even about the World Trade Center, holding their stuff up and preventing me words and others out words, preventing us words outside of courts, with the courts, that are also fabricating audio and video to replace what is actually recorded right on and off the courts. Right on and off the police departments. They've been replacing what is actually recorded in life reality with fabricated audio and video transcripts, with mass identity thefts and frauds rolls. Why do you think the identity thefts and frauds against what they call, quote, Black America, otherwise you are not allowed to be represented? You can only have someone represent you as Black America if they're black. Not if they're going to tell the truth. It's sick because you guys are playing the hundreds of nations at once. You guys are, this is since grammar school, you were worse than child abuse. You are preventing mandated law offensively while you are simultaneously pretending to be for it. So you're increasingly hyper positive as negative, as criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments. What is Jim Crow laws about? It's about simultaneously insidious positive treatments and negative treatments and identity treatments. Of America, for example, the Constitution was abridged and they were blaming on other things, others and or on themselves. And then when they're defending that, they have to increasingly self-value bad things that the breaching method did, like didn't let anyone read. That was for the little minority in hundreds of countries at once. So colors A through Z, people A through Z, a little minority of their representatives, originally still. Now I'm not saying don't blame them. You have to seek through premises treatments, through sequence true. So the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center attack towers, from inside their court, they have collusion with someone who post-dated documents. That was proven after the World Trade Center attack. And then the Trade Center towers were gone, though. Everyone was shocked and awe, though. Everyone was tortured, no. As fact-cheating nature, too, no. At schools, no. There are proofs that even if the coronavirus is man-made, and even if it starts to appear to have come through one country, like China, it is proof that it is maintenance to where and how countries A through Z, including America, including China, they have entertained locations, areas, and states, not only criminally foreign influenced, but self-valued, that being and having been blamed on other things, others themselves, where and how nature demonstrated it already, and it increasingly demonstrates it. That and how locations, areas, and states are criminally foreign influenced. And delusions rock. Voices of authority. Voices of practicality. Voices of science /S. I tell the best boxing, they're bound or gather round. So follow mandated law for WFSB, New Britain, Connecticut News, and Fox Connecticut News. And you guys owe me. And you guys owe America and Connecticut. Just, why make it so hard? Just come into my YouTube thing and say, I'm sorry. What do you want to say about it? We forced the principal child abuser because we listened to your police department. Because my town's police chief, his daughter, and a whole bunch of people associated with his daughter are involved with locations through time. They've been stacking, the criminally foreign influenced, with the Afghanistan, with the Saudi Arabia involved. They're keeping religions criminally foreign influenced here and there, the stewards of them, by keeping these games with no one trains. That's why they have the first part of the Old Testament and the first part of Quran. They won't let anyone approach the value of sequence true there. They have everyone, there is maintenance to everyone with logic, hearing the same thing every day and goes away. It's fake, they're not even saying anything. Follow mandated law and fix the fake news. The NBC Connecticut News attached me to fake emails to replace phone conversations and confessions and statements and names given over answering machines. So the wire crimes simultaneously multi-front, not just multi-front from interbranch and the wire crime. I mean that was that was private. But in other words, the news attached me and my family to fake words. Me and other people around me. People that used to be around me. Fake words, fake ties. They're little identity thefts and frauds tricks. So I don't know Thomas Potter. There's a person with the name Thomas Potter. And there's a Mr. Potter who was a teacher of mine. I never had a personal conversation with my life. I never had a problem with my life. Thomas Potter sought me out to confess, demonstrate, confirm. He's rolls also with a Chet Casper. People with the name Casper. I don't know the maiden name of his daughter or of his sister. I never met his sister. I don't know. I never had a class with Chet Casper. I never saw him around campus. There were a couple instances. There was one instance, and one verbally I heard his name. In other words, he's someone from the background involved with the locations at downtown Hartford near the state capitol, through time involved with identity thefts and frauds, offensive evidence reception racketeering, and that is criminally foreign influenced. It was used remotely leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since, from Connecticut. Connecticut intercities corruption, also intercampuses and private databases simultaneously, even ones that have nothing to do with each other apparently, but actually having it. And with people with locations, killers kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite active progressive lies, roles with uses of the ground, locations actually that are recorded. See, this breaching method knew that modern nations would have to hide lie progressions individually grouped and together. They would have to hide sequence shifts because nature would demonstrate the negative value nature progressions acts in nature is a demonstration of you can't legalize criminally foreign influence locations, areas, and states. Nature will demonstrate it to correlation nature is actually inherent active and progressive means. One way redeems. So CNN also has sources recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed, involved with courts, criminally involved with on-off Paul Manafort drive with them, with prosecutors, judges, and their family members. And like fucking police forms, like there's an O'Brien family. There's a Dennis O'Brien, a Timothy O'Brien, an Andrew O'Brien. Their mother, I don't know the mother's name, and their neighbors are involved with FBI and Hartford police, with the Wethersfield police, and transitions from the old police chief to the one who's been for years. I don't know if he's retired yet or not, but there are other police forms also criminally involved. So the point is they pretend people make allegations outside of courts because they've been making allegations. They've been framing people outside of courts. They've been doing worse because they've been used remotely. When they have issues that go before courts, hundreds of nations at once, individually together, grouped and together, they are maintenance to it being naive over here and there. And they need to blame each other. Uses of our names abridged where they pretend not to realize. So they have all the countries, even Mexico, Haiti, those countries involved with other people desperate because science never spoke for them there. We're in the little trap since before cars that was forced with the torture and slavery of our founding parents. And against Native Americans, A through Z, sickly distinctly. Against colonists, sickly distinctly, A through Z. Slavery was in the North and in the South, sickly distinctly. By who? By the breaching method that forced rolls with even the countries. That's why and how England was bigger than itself, but still wasn't taken over. And how are you going to keep yourself bigger? Because probably English was revealed by the ancients. The means for it were already in place. But see, the ancients, the semi-ancients then criminally re-engineered educational reception, fact treatment nature there simultaneously. Nature would demonstrate it. Knowing nature would demonstrate it. Knowing they could trick, hurt, force people sustained into self-value, tactically degraded, degraded. Human education, fact treatment nature, revelations presented by nature itself. Wanted and needed by nature for nature, where we are its part. But distinct from it. We are distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously itself. Everything is in demonstration this way. We are to see. If you value unity alone, then you value negative value nature. And as criminal and seditious nature is a positive treatment. If you value unity and independence alone, without the simultaneous that's being demonstrated with the, why do you think there's hot, cold? Everything is in demonstration of the simultaneous. Everything is in demonstration of one identity's value/value progression, how it is positive or negative to itself. Further, where and how positive is our identities are already simultaneous relationship to what is positive and negative, but as a quality of diffusion, an increasing identity of volume, where we are already automatically only given being temporary, positive, temporary, positive, temporary / lasting, positive. See, but this is also coupled with temporary / lasting, positive or negative. And prayer, see, I had another meeting per science before religions were only capable of faith. So that faith is to figure this out. That's why we have to start with the beginning of the Quran and the beginning of the Old Testament. Per science. The beginning of the Old Testament says it's about science. People of the sciences are supposed to come together. Sciences share an identity. It says this is the only part you have to understand. And basically, people say, oh, the Quran and the Old Testament are the same. But it's not the same. And where it is, they don't explain that. They're just nonsense. They're the same to the same theater. In other words, where the beginning of the Quran says you're not supposed to. You don't have to. You either believe. You're going to either use the word Allah as the identity of the simultaneous nature, and we'll call it the hyper-simultaneous nature, because there are distinct identities of simultaneous nature that are, in other words, being a group, being a male or being a female, being a location that's grouped, being age that's grouped, being an individual, it's an independent individual. It's part of its identity can only stay that. And where it's making more of itself, a part of its identity can only stay that. Part of its own identity can only stay grouped. And it all shows that and how one identity of value progression, value, how it is self-generating, per science more practical and more probable than that convicted with theories and with delusions, also recorded being and having been effectively exploited, and where and how self-valued, being and having been formally posited, like volume theory in the way of volume science. See, everything is a volume distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously in demonstration of science. The hypersimultaneous, and then it is further how we discern what is hyper, how it is further. In other words, an invention works or not as an identity of volume relative to what is to the hyper, what is hyper simultaneous. It is also further simultaneously positive or negative in relationship to what is hyper positive. For example, a criminal insidiousness nature like a wrongdoer, like someone who committed predicate acts. They're going to make positive and negative treatments. They're going to use truths for lies. They're going to pretend they don't realize as criminal insidiousness nature. No, this was criminally legalized in America. And modern nations A through Z had a whole bunch of things. They had to defend themselves as fact-cheating nature, where and how their foreparents and themselves were tactically separated from the means to, from the sophistication to that had already been provided and demonstrated by a common shared leader, which is nature itself. It has an identity of relativity, not theory of relativity. It is the identity of relativity that is constantly showing the relevance of why and how, not just because we are a species. We're not just why do you think species are individual grouped in together? There's one volume science that all the different species are this way together. The hypersimultaneous is being demonstrated to us. See, what is grouped is simultaneous. An individual is a simultaneous nature, and where and how we are, the whole body, the species body, that's also simultaneous with nature. So, but then we need to discern the hyper-simultaneous. But we need to have the fake news. They have roles with child abuses, then and further with the principal child abusers campus, as names involved also with Afghanistan leaders since the 90s and before that, and with Korean families. Like there's a Joe DeMoro that people from Trinity College and his cousin Joe DeMoro also from Central Connecticut State University in New Britain. A whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with predicate acts with him and with some Mendez brothers and some doctors that were involved with them when they were growing up with their physical delusions, using them for identity theft, frauds, falsified police reports, roles with predicate acts of judges and prosecutors, and with people roles with uses of locations next to campuses, and attaching kids to fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves. Ask them about the shifting lies. I even showed him. I played it back to him because he was calling me on the phone as a kid. Why was he calling me? So I played it to him on the phone. Ask him about that. I don't know Joe DeMoro. I only know him through confessions. I was never his friend.